And it's like, hey, apple, apple. No, you got to be smiling, you got to be talking, and really, you got to talk to the baby like a baby, or you got to talk to the kid like a kid, right? There's different pitches and different tones that matter. And so when I say being able to offer that apple, you want them watching you, you want them hearing you, their eyes are fixated on you. Those are all cues that your baby is going to be learning from you.
Interesting. Yeah, I've always felt that the world would be a better place if we all learned from our mothers, you know? Like I wish my mother was my teacher most of the time. And then maybe if she did go away for a little while, there'd be somebody else that was really nice like my mother teaching me. I would have been a straight A student, you know? I think that would have been and then maybe my dad stepping in to like teach me like a lot of the man stuff. Like that would have
You
been
need
perfect.
both.
You know?
Yes, Doc, you need both. Boy or girl, princess or prince, they need a queen and they need a king teaching them regardless. It should not all fall on one parent ever. And I know that, and I'm in the situation where I have custody of my child for the majority of the time. And so for me, I am that person that's giving him that love, that attention. He doesn't like me as his teacher though. So I'm like, that's fine. But my son is 8. So I have, those are different skills. He's outside of my skill set now. And so I've come to grasp with that, and I do not get offended, but I'm definitely a hands-on mom. Let's do this homework. Let's figure out how we're doing this. My son is in Dr. Asada's class, so he has a tutor with her, right? So I want to give my son the foundational skills at every stage in life. And so all I ask is that parents remember that, right? Excuse me, we don't always think like, oh, this baby knows how to roll. How this baby learn how to roll? Well, if you work with that baby learns how to roll because you've put the toy up here, and then where the eyes go, the hand then goes, right? And so they're reaching for those things, and we're teaching them that. Excuse me.
Mm. Yeah, kids are such sponges, right? Like I think about my whole educational experience and I just remember like, I remember like going to school and see like these white women that didn't understand me and just not and being in detention all the time and never feeling inspired to really just be whatever it was I could have been, you know what I mean? And I remember being very sad. I remember 11, 12 years old. I had a male role model who was my uncle, and he was like my best friend. He was 8 years older than me. And then he went to prison when I was 11. And I would sit in class, not paying attention, just writing letters to him in prison, right? And so years later, I'd look back and I just think about like, how great it would have been to have somebody around that could really understand what was going on, you know? And I imagine so many of us just have our little secret pain that we're enduring, right? And I just thought it was life. I thought life was just like that, that you're supposed to be 11 years old and crying in class and writing letters to your uncle in prison. I did not know that that was like an experience that, through some intervention could have been much more pleasant for me, where I could have shared it with somebody and told them how sad I was, and then been around somebody who educated me with love, and the other thing I noticed too is that the thing that was really definitely missing in my educational process was just the love. Like I even if it didn't come from a black person, like there's this lady, I think she's probably like a liberal white woman or something. Her name was Miss Kim, and I was 7. And Miss Kim showed me how to get my homework done. And she was like, okay, you start with the easy stuff and then you work on the harder stuff. And it's so funny because here I am over 50 and I still work the way Miss Kim taught me when I was 7. I'll have all this work and I'll be like, I don't want to do all this work. And then I'll be like, okay, let's start with the easy stuff and then work your way up. And so that inner child, like, never went away, right? And I think that, and I remember what I loved and what made me want to perform for her as a student was that this lady likes me, this lady cares if I do well, and I didn't know, I don't, I mean, literally, I kid you not, I think she was probably 21 or 22 years old, like one of those like volunteers or something. So I really think that one of the things that we forget about, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is the importance of just love when it comes to influencing kids, educating them, pulling it out of them, right? Right? Like when you're around someone that cares about you, you're gonna listen, you're gonna respond, you're gonna push a little harder. What
Yeah.
do you think about what I just said?
I think you're absolutely right. Letitia just made a comment in the chat and she said positive experiences and that energy sticks with you. And that's so true. My son has been to 4 different schools because they're just not up to par. And we're now in a school he just started actually Monday. So I pulled him. We got accepted because it's a lottery. We just got accepted on Monday. He loves it. He loves his teacher. And when I met her, she's so enthusiastic, Doc. So it's crazy you asked me that because I see the night and day in the teacher that he had previously at the school that we left in versus the one that he has now. And they're night and day. Her energy is through the roof. He comes home having like real conversations with me that I don't have to pull his teeth to get. So I mean that, right? So I'm getting real update on how he's doing, not like, oh, how was your day? Yeah, it was okay. And then something happens later where he's like, oh, and then this happened. No, he's excited when he gets in the car. He's run into the car to tell me what's happening in his day. And so for me, I see the night and day when the teacher can make or break your child's education. And that's why I love when you say we need to teach our kids. We need to invest in our kids, right? Because there's not always going to be a Mrs. Ruby. That's my son's name, or teacher's name. There's not always going to be some lady who sees potential in Dr. Boyce, right? There, those women are not always, or those men. We need more men, but those women are not always around. So I think we need to make sure we are giving love. We are also pouring into them at home, and then when we send them out there with their armor on, make sure their armor is on, because that's a sad story for you to say, you didn't feel love at school. And again, I don't want that for my son, hence the reason we pull them. So I think it makes a huge difference with your child's education. It will make or break them, and it makes it difficult for them and you in the long run.
Mm. By the way, everybody, as you just came in, I'm speaking with Miss Chelsea Madison, who has done my job and filled me in the gaps of everything she does. And I should have known all that before, but I was literally like, I'm trying to figure it out. I messed up today. She's the CEO and founder of Developmental Consulting, and before I forget, Chelsea, what's your website?
Developmentalconsultant.com. I will,
Developmental Consultant.
yes.com.
Okay, developmentalconsultant.com. So somebody type that in the chat, developmentalconsultant.com. Thank you, Mia. Is that Mia or Maya?
That's
Thank
me.
Oh, the Mia. Okay, thank you for putting that in there. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mia.
Okay, so and by the way, everybody, I want to remind you if you're watching live today, February 7th, tonight we're doing the financial slumber party as well at 11 o'clock. So if you want to learn about ETFs, we're going to get together and party and
Get your
in
jammies
private Zoom.
ready.
What'd you say?
I said, get your jammies ready.
Yes, yes, yes. Wear your jammies, bring your popcorn, and we're gonna have a Zoom party. That's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna learn all about ETFs. So everybody that's in the Stock Market Investors Club, you can come for free. drboycestockmarket.com. I'll also send you a link if you don't want to join the club and you just want to join the event. I'll send you a link today. Make sure you're on the text list. You can get on the text list by texting the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. And yes, Natasha, I know you need a nap before the party. I need a nap too. I always have to take. If I don't take a nap, I will fall asleep during the party. So everybody, get your nap in so we can come in with full energy and have some fun. And we're gonna learn a lot. I went through the training last night, and it's really good stuff. I guarantee you, when you walk away, you'll be smarter and happier. Because learning, as Miss Chelsea explains to us, should be a good experience. Okay, so Chelsea, let me read some stats to you about our kids in the school system. I'd like to get
Yeah.
your raw reaction to this. Okay. Number one, only 17% of black fourth graders in the U.S. are reading at or above proficient level. Only 14% of black eighth graders score at or above proficiency in math. Let's see, less than 20% of black students who take the ACT meet three or more college readiness benchmarks. Also, schools with majority black students receive $23 billion less in funding compared to schools in white districts, etc. What comes to mind when you hear these stats about how they're literally murdering the futures of our kids in broad daylight on a mass scale, just almost like an intellectual genocide? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, Doc, it doesn't surprise me. Again, I'm in the state of Nevada. We are, I want to say, we're 50th in the nation. We might be 49th. We might be beating Mississippi. So for me, that doesn't surprise me. Um, it breaks my heart because we know that these kids have the potential. We know if you pour into them where we could go. And again, it's all systematic, right? To allow these children to fail. We have a program in the state of Nevada, No Child Left Behind. We're leaving all of them behind. Actually, it's quite the contrary, because they're again in the old school that my son was in. He's in second grade. There's a second grader in his classroom that can't read. So that slows the process. Yes, you're in second grade and you're not able to read. That slows the process for everybody, because the teacher, if you're a good teacher, right, you should be trying to take some time to help this kid. But in helping this kid, what are you setting these kids up for failure because you're not teaching them to the degree that they need to be taught to? So it doesn't surprise me, Doc. It really, like I said, it really breaks my heart, because we know the potential they have. We know if we just give them a little bit of love and a little bit of our time, and really, as someone had mentioned in the chat, kids equate time to love. So they don't need your tools, your Jordans. They need you present. They need your presence. And I
Yeah.
think that that's key to help build this foundation. Whether you're 3 years old, you're coming straight out of the womb, whether you're 8 years old, you need a solid foundation. We're building a home, and you talk about investing in the kids. My goal is to invest in them from 0 to 5. That's my goal. I want to be able to help as many families as I can get what they need and get the equipment for the correct tools so that they can use them in each stage of their life. And I think you do a different stage, I do a different stage. We really need to just make sure we're hitting the stages. And I'm not saying it's all day every day, because I get it. As a parent, we are tired. And I know that those teachers are tired, right? And so I think that sometimes we gotta be in, I won't say unisons. I will not say unisons, but we do need to be a team player in our child's education, right? So if we see the teacher needs a little bit of help and your child is a little disruptive or have some behavior skills, help your teacher out. Talk to your kid at home. Be on the same page. Create a behavior plan. Create a rewards program for your kid. Anything that's going to motivate your kid. You said that the teacher told you to do the easy work before you did the hard work. She did that so that you could build your confidence. And then when you got to the hard work, okay, you know what? I already did this easy work. Let me just work on this. You're already in the groove. So these kids have potential. These systems have money. And we know that they're choosing not to use them, right? So it doesn't surprise me. Again, I'm in the state of Nevada, so those numbers sound like very relevant numbers for just our state alone. But you're telling me that's over a nation, and that makes me sad, because that means it's hitting everybody. It's hitting everybody.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things where it's almost like I encourage people to just sit back and really let it sink in, right? When I read the stat, it's like we're so numb to our suffering. We're so numb to the idea that we're losing and our kids are being hurt by this. Like it's child abuse, really. That's what it is. And
Absolutely.
we're just numb. We don't react to it. Like we'll probably react more to, I don't know, Trump winning the election than we will to a stat about the majority of black children not being able to read. And that's really fascinating to me. And I think it's because we're just inundated with so much evidence to say that this system doesn't care about our kids. And and so I almost encourage everybody, like, just take a minute and just reflect on this. I want to read some more stats to you, Chelsea, because I want to get your honest raw take on some of this, because I really think we got to kind of sit back and say, okay, what are we doing here? Like, what's really happening? Like, really,
Absolutely.
self-reflect and look at ourselves. Don't just look at the people that are running the systems. Like, they're exploiting people who made themselves open to exploitation.
I
That's what
agree.
they're doing. And that's what capitalism does, right? So let me read some more stats to you, and this
Before
is
you do
just
that, can I answer Dana's question? I think it's Dana. I'm sorry. I don't want to miss it. She asked, how do you teach an autistic child? So, Dana, if you have someone that you think may be on the spectrum, go to your pediatrician, go see a psychiatrist, and get them diagnosed. You're going to need that diagnosis before you can get any services. I know here in Nevada, it's a little bit more difficult to get those services without the diagnosis. So you'll want to check with your pediatrician, but get the diagnosis, and then you want ABA services. You want to get ABA services, whether that's 20 hours a week. If you can find a clinic to get ABA services, some clinics do in-home services, which is amazing. It's a lot, and it's a lot of repetitiveness, but that kid's going to thrive in that with that ABA service. So I just wanted to say that, Doc, before you went on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And we'll do some more stuff on this because we got some other experts as well that we've been meaning to bring something together, some sort of early childhood conference. I
Yeah.
know Jen is in the chat, and I know she works with kids a lot. So we got a lot of great people here, and I really think that we should help facilitate something because there are a lot of parents that need help on this. I just got a message from somebody who actually does similar work, who works with uh, developmentally gifted kids. Like I don't I'm using the wrong terminology, but I don't want to use the old I don't want to be old fashioned here. But she has a whole way of describing like I think differently abled. I think that's maybe the term if I want to be try to
You
be
can just
politically
say
correct.
disabilities because they're right. They're a delay is a disability. A diagnosis can be a diagnosis that has disabilities attached to it, right? So they're all different.
Okay, okay, perfect. Yeah, so let me read some more stats to you, and then I just like to kind of because I'm thinking about Chelsea in terms of you working with children that may have developmental challenges. I'm really also it's making me really think just about early childhood education period. Just, how it can be done better and why it's
Yes.
important for it to be done better, right? And let me just read some. This is the Harvard study by I don't know if most parents know this, and I want you to understand how important this stuff is. By the age of 5, 90% of a child's brain is developed, which is insane, which forms the foundation of everything of who they are. By the age of 5, 90% of your brain is developed. Also, kids who start kindergarten behind are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. That's another study. Third, by the age of 3, children that are in wealthier families are exposed to 30 million more words than children in low-income families. 30 million extra words that affects their literacy. Also, children who receive a proper early childhood education, who attend high-quality preschool programs, earn more money. Also, kids who miss out on early childhood education are 70% more likely to be arrested for violent crime by adulthood.
Ooh, that's
So,
a new.
yeah, what do you think? I think that that really speaks to a missed opportunity that we have in terms of an awareness and a consciousness about what we're doing with those little babies and what we expose them to by the age of 5, how we have to really protect them. What do you say to that?
Absolutely. Well, again, that brain is still so malleable. I mean, even their bones, right? Everything is still growing, and they got growth plates that are haven't expanded. So, to hit on the literacy note, what I do with my families is, I tell them, I'm like, you got a word bucket. Your goal, your kid comes into this world empty slate. Yes, some have different skills, some have different disabilities, some we're all different in that way, but we have no words. So what I tell my families is it's your job to fill their word bucket, right? Even when I have Spanish speaking families, it's your job to then fill their Spanish word bucket and their English word bucket, right? So that they're able to thrive and they understand. When I say that to families, they're like, oh, it clicks for them because this kid has no words. That's why I say watch the mouth. That's why I say when you're changing the diaper, oh, mommy's going to change your diaper. There's one strap, there's two strap. Let me wipe your little butt. Oh, you stink, right? And really just creating those words, creating those sounds. So that way they hear and they're able to put it together. They're able to use it later in life. You want them to be able to have as many tools as possible. So what I like to do is equip my parents with as many tools as possible. So if you got to fill the word bucket, you're talking all day. I tell parents this, and even parents who are uncomfortable talking, you have to talk. And I'm very blunt with it, right? You have to talk, or your kid's not going to talk because your kid doesn't have the example. Especially if you're a stay at home mom, please turn off that TV and let's talk to your baby. And I'm not saying it has to be all day, y'all. I get it if you got to go to the bathroom. I get it if you need to cook. Turn the TV on. I totally understand that. But I had a parent tell me that they let their kid watch TV for 10 hours a day. That's unacceptable if you're under 3. APA doesn't even recommend television for a child under 2. So why would your what? 10 hours. That's
Mm,
absurd. That's
mm.
absurd. That's that's why I say it doesn't have to be all day, but you should be spending some time with your baby.
Mm,
Time is love, time is money, time is really all they need.
wow.
So the stats are alarming. The stats are heartbreaking. The stats are problematic for especially our community, because I like the analogy that you use when the colonizers get a cough, we got the flu, right? So the stats are a lot worse for us than they are for other people. Um, and
Yeah. Oh, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to be able to make sure parents understand you do play a fundamental role in your child's foundational education, their skills. Bye, baby. Have a great day at school. Um, we play a part. We play a huge part, and we need to step up. We need to step up. That's the solution, right? We can't wait for anybody else. We got to step up, and we have to be able to um, help our children lay the foundation and lay it solid, so no
Yeah.
one can break them.
Absolutely. Now, now, Miss Chelsea Madison, I want to, and by the way, Chelsea is the CEO and founder of Developmental Consulting. Her website is developmentalconsultant.com, developmentalconsultant.com. I want to make sure everybody knows that. And also, just in case you aren't on the text list for our Money in the Morning class, make sure you text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. And this is not directly related to money, but this is actually quite related to money. If you don't give your kids the advantages they need when they're young, they will suffer definitely financially and otherwise when they get older. So I would guarantee you. In fact, there are lots of studies that connect preparation with economic success. Right? If we want to know why a 30-year-old is broke, all you got to do is look and see what was going on in their life when they were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then you'll find that there's a connection, right? So never ever think that we're not talking about wealth. And also remember, with wealth, most wealth that doesn't actually show up in the form of money, right? There are things more important than money as well. So we like to connect all that. So I want to make sure everybody understands that, so that you don't get confused and think that we're going to just talk about your 401k. That's another class. We can do that, but that's not how you understand economics. Okay, so with that said, I want to let's go back to specifically in terms of what you do and the types of kids that you work with the most. Uh, tell us about that. Just on a daily, weekly basis, like what that's like for you.
On a daily, weekly basis, most of my kiddos have speech delays. I do have some kiddos with some PT concerns, so I create strategies around those. The strategies are
No,
individualized, so there's,
no, I didn't mean to interrupt. PT concerns?
oh, sorry, physical therapy.
Oh, got it. Okay, I was making sure.
Sorry, like lingo of being the in the job in the industry. So physical therapy concerns, definitely able to address those. I create an assessment, or I do an assessment, excuse me, that lets you know where your kid is developmentally, right, on all present levels. And those levels are going to be based on cognitive, social, emotional skills, communication, physical, and adaptive, which is independent skills. And it'll let you know where your kid is developmentally, age range, excuse me. And then based on what they aren't doing, we can kind of create those strategies on how to get them to do it. And that those are individual strategies. If your kiddo doesn't like cars, but your kiddo likes balls, we're not going to create a strategy around cars. We're going to have you play with the balls while you do it. If your baby loves bath time and they don't know their body parts, we're going to do bath time and do body parts, because we can do head, shoulders, knees, and toes. You can put bubbles on their nose and you're saying that, oh, let me wash your stinky toes. We can do all that in bath time, right? If your kid loves bath time. So everything is individualized so that the child is getting what they need and the parent is able to give them what they need. That's the goal.
Wow.
So all those different milestones can be met. And I don't know if parents know about their milestones, but milestones are readily available. You will be able to find some on my website. If they're not up, I will have them up by the end of the day. But there's some free resources on there, as well as how to spend time with your kiddo, things like that. So yeah,
Awesome.
just those are some of the just to kind of go back to your question, those are some of the things that I address, but I individualize them. I do not, it's not cookie cutter. You're going to get something that's for your baby and for your baby alone. Um, And some strategies don't work, right? And I always tell parents it gets worse before it gets better because you're learning something new. And I go back to the example when you said, hey, she told me to do the confident work first, and you were still like, oh, I don't, or she told me to do the easy work first, and you were still like, I don't want to do it. It gets harder before it gets easier, right? Because you have to teach the skill. And
Yes.
then once the skill is learned, now it's easier. And you're like, oh my gosh, my baby knows where her nose is. Where's your nose? And then they point to their nose. Or then they point to your nose, right? So but we just gotta we don't know what we don't know. So I'm here to help and I'm here to provide you some know.
Now, how many kids do you have?
Uh, oh, I only have one. I only have the one child.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
I tell people all the time, if you've got more than one, you are a saint in my book. You are
Well,
a saint
well, it seems
in
like
my
you
book.
really love kids.
I
I think that's
do.
great. I think that's awesome.
I do. I do. I growing up, just a little bit about my background. I have five brothers. I'm the only girl, and so for me, I grew up as a tomboy playing light pole football in the street. So I didn't really grow up around like soft things. So sometimes I do come off kind of blunt, but my heart is there and it's really all in love. But I've had some things happen to me as a kid where I'm like, I want to be able to protect kids' innocence. I want to be able to help them thrive. I want to be able to provide a skill to be able to protect them in ways that either they're growing,
Mm.
or I can help someone help them grow. Right? I like to be present, and kids are great. They have this innocence about them and their smiles, and
Mhm.
I get along with kids. Me and kids get along.
Yeah,
They're
I
amazing, and they're
totally
truth
get it. Yeah, I totally get that. I agree with you about that. Just, I mean, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I have a pet peeve. I can't stand people who are mean to kids or just hate kids or just don't have any empathy for kids. I'm like, how can you not empathize with this little 5-year old who, and you're right, they're so pure. There are no bad people in their world until you introduce them to bad people,
absolutely.
right? And it just, it just bothers me. It's like it makes me think about one time my daughter, I picked her up and she was really sad and she was crying and I said, "What are you crying about? What's going on?" And she told me about this little boy that was 3 years old that her friend babysat, and the 3-year-old had got shot in the head, right? And I was like, how does a 3-year-old get shot in the head?
Wow.
So yeah, so what happened was he had a young mother. His mother was about maybe 20, and there was some guy next door. She was arguing with this guy, and this guy just out of his anger, he comes over with this gun and just shoots into the house, just shoots all these bullets into the house. But he didn't know that there were a bunch of kids in the house, right? They were playing. So the 3-year-old gets hit in the head. 3-year-old goes to the hospital. 3 days, his brain swells and he dies. And I cried too. I cried with her and I wasn't just crying for the 3-year-old that got killed. I was crying. It wasn't just about the baby that got killed. I was thinking about the baby that killed the other baby, right?
Right.
Because in my, you get older, you start realizing that 19-year-old just a few years earlier was also a sweet little innocent child, right? And it made me think about our society and just the process of how do you take an innocent child who loves everyone and turn them into this 19, 20-year-old thug that wants to go and, unload a clip full of bullets. And it made me just think about like what his path, like that sort of behavior, um, degenerate behavior or harmful behavior or thuggish behavior or criminal behavior that's made in America, right? We create these demons in our society, right? Because this child didn't start off as a demon. That baby was an angel, and we demonized that child by neglecting him,
Yep.
mistreating him, right? Every time he needed somebody to lift him up, somebody kicked him over, right? Every time he looked for love, somebody gave him hate. And then suddenly he becomes this person that is not a benefit to society. And this is one of the reasons why when I think about the village, I believe that if you're pro-black, you have to care about the village.
You do.
If you're pro-black and you care about your own kids, you got to care about everybody's kids
You do.
because all those kids they're gonna interact with your kids. So, so my rule is, yeah, when you see a black child that needs your support, guidance, love, affection, words of encouragement, whatever it is you got to do, I believe that it is God's mandate for us to do that. And if you don't, then it's hard to convince me that you're really pro-black when you can say, "Well, I care about my kids, but to hell with those other kids." Or better yet, how about this? I'll say, without making it negative, I'll say, there's a special place in heaven for all those people, all those teachers and counselors and football coaches that embrace other people's children, because we know we got a lot of lost babies out here that didn't
Absolutely.
get what they deserved.
Absolutely. And honestly, I have an old friend who used to say, like, Chelsea, why do you get so worked up about the other kids that Carter's around? And I'm like, he has to move in life with these kids. What do you mean? And so for me, and she doesn't have kids, so I that's not to like that's not a dig. That's all love, but it's he has to move in life with these kids.
Yes.
And so for me, of course I need them to be on par. And the kids that come to my house, of course you need Miss Chelsea. Of course you know the respect. Miss Chelsea, can I get something to eat? Yes. Maurice, go ahead and go in the fridge, right? Like of course. Of course. There's no world that I live in where I do not care about my son's friends. There is no world that I live in that if my son is doing something that I am a part of, that I don't care about all the kids. I coach my son's soccer team. And I mean, there was kids from his school that were on there. There were brand new kids. Respect all the way, because I don't play those games. But like, these kids love me because you care about them, because you're providing time, because you're calling them out. Like, hey, I love the way you did that, Maurice. That looked good. That looked good. Okay, okay, Tiffany, I see you. But y'all, okay, y'all are talking and not listening. Go hit a lap. These that's real talk though, Doc.
I love that.
They need that. And for me, for the longest time, and I know there are other Black people who feel like this, I feel like I always have the weight of our community and our culture on my shoulders. I don't know if everybody feels that, but I feel that, and I feel the need to make a difference. I feel the need to be present. And again, it's not always every day, and I do get exhausted as well. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I've poured into my son. I want to make sure that his friends, if they're about to get into something, they know, hey, let's call your mom. Like my house is the safe house, the fun house, the cool house, the let's make a mess house and then clean it up, of course, because I don't play those games either. But it takes a village. It takes a village, and I would take your kid in any day. And I pray because my son is missing pieces in his life. I pray that the genuine God loving people would take my son in if I was ever gone, and make a difference in his life. He has uncles that are present and he loves them. He is able to be a boy and be rough with them. I can only wrestle for so long before I'm like, no, I'm tired because you're bigger than me. He's 6 feet and he is literally past my shoulders, and I'm 5'7". So just know that I have a monster that I'm raising. My refrigerator shows it because he eats everything. So and then his friends come over. He wants to have, can my friends come over? I'm like, man, we gotta go to the grocery store before you have people come over here because you didn't eat everything. And I like to feed kids. Some kids don't eat. I think we just gotta love on them, dog. That's really all it comes down to is we gotta love on them. We gotta
Hmm.
create safe
Yeah.
spaces. Oh
Yeah.
yes, it just says safe spaces. We need safe spaces for these kids.
Yeah, it always, I mean, I think everything comes down to love. Like love simplifies things, right? You should do what you love. You should show love. Start off with love and you have a great opportunity to connect. There's that saying that says before you correct, you must connect. If a kid doesn't feel like you care about them, they're not gonna listen to your correction and your your advice, guidance, judgment, whatever it is you're offering. They don't want to
They
hear
don't
all that. If
they
they
don't
don't Yeah, yeah. So I agree with you 100%. I admit I don't quite understand people who don't even at least appreciate that line of thinking, to just know how critical it is for, in terms of what we're doing with these kids. Because I can tell you just definitely just at the very least from a wealth standpoint, our community stays broke because we give our kids away. Our kids are our $1 trillion asset. If we were raising them on our own the way they need to be raised and preparing them for society, they will be very successful. But for whatever reason, you were trained in slavery to give your children away to white people, and they screw them up. They take your sweet, intelligent baby and they send you back a thug. They send you back they send you back Cardi B or something, and you're trying to work with that, and you can't build off of that, right? Even just little things, like I was thinking the other day about little stuff. Like I said, isn't it funny that like 90% of the black men I know can't fix a sink, can't fix the roof, don't know how to do plumbing or carpentry or anything around the house, because we're all trained to like basically like go to college and get student loans and then go work for white people. That's pretty much all we're trained. So there's so much that they do that just distracts our kids. And then when we're looking for assets in our community in terms of human beings that can actually build and create things, there's a deficiency there, right? Well, the
Yes,
deficiency comes from, like, what are you doing with your kids, right? So like you're hungry. Did you burn the food? Did you throw the half the, you got, God gave you a bunch of raw food and you threw half of it in the garbage. The other half you burned it. And now you wonder why you're starving. Well, you're starving and malnourished because you're being a little bit stupid right now. Now, I'm not calling nobody stupid, but we become a little bit stupid because we don't understand that those babies, those children that we think are worthless little, expenses, like, oh, kids are expensive and this and that. No, those are your assets.
yes,
That's God's endowment that He's giving you. And if you don't have the consciousness to see what you've been blessed with, then you're going to end up deficient for a very long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you have the last word, Miss Chelsea, and I'm going to give your website again because I want everybody to have it. Please write this down. It's developmentalconsultant.com, developmentalconsultant.com. Chelsea Madison's the CEO and founder of Developmental Consulting, and she can work with your. She says she works with kids that have delays and things. I'm gonna go ahead and speculate that she could probably work with any child under. Tell me, I think you could work with anybody. I'd love for my
I
child.
like 0 to 5. 0 to 5 is where I specialize, and that's where I thrive.
Okay.
When it comes to my work, I thrive with my 8 year old too. But as far as like assessing and being able to provide those hands-on strategies and individualize them, it's 0 to 5.
0 to 5. Okay. And remember, 90% of the child's brain is developed before the age of 5. So let's be intentional about that. So did you have any final thoughts before we
I
finish
just wanted to
up?
say thank you to the whole B1 Nation. Thank you guys so much for I wasn't able to address everybody, but you do have my website. Please reach out. And I just want to say thank you for all the love. And Dr. Boyce, again, thank you for all the love. Thank you for the opportunity to just be here to have a conversation about our people, and how we can really tap in and grow and take that power back, because that's really what it comes down to. I think you say it so often that I'm really like, you're right. No one is coming to save us. So if no one is coming to save us, let me save as many of our people as I can.
Yeah.
And I leave it at that. But yes, B1 family, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for the support. All my family and my friends that popped in here, I am grateful for you. Thank you for coming to praise on me. I see all the hearts. So thank y'all. And again, um, Dr. Boyce, my hat is off to you, and I look forward to Money in the Morning tomorrow.
Yes, and my head is off to you. I don't have a head. I don't even have any hair, but all that. I take my hair and my head off to you. And thank you for rolling with me in terms of my life. Won't happen again, ma'am. I'm sorry, Miss Shelley, because I know you don't play those games. So, so
Ah,
everybody, developmentalconsultant.com. That's Chelsea's website. Also, I hope to see you all tonight at the Financial Slumber Party, 11 o'clock. Bring your pajamas and your popcorn. We're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna learn all about ETFs. I did a whole presentation on ETFs. So just let's jump in and get with it. I don't know how many of y'all are doing stock options with us, but did y'all see Oklo today? How many of y'all in the chat saw Oklo? You saw Oklo? Did you see Oklo,
I
Chelsea?
have Oklo. Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh my God. I looked in, I said, oh my God, this stock has just like gone crazy.
Taking
I
off.
didn't think I didn't think it could go up any further. But anyway, yeah, you all have heard us talk about Oklo a lot, and I love it. I like the idea that when we're hanging out together, it's really making a difference in your lives. I told my wife, I said that's how I evaluate almost everything, politicians or whatever, is is something that you're doing affecting me? If it's affecting me and my family directly, that is more real than just me having an opinion about something you're doing that I'm never gonna see, right? So, for example, COVID affected me directly, so I was curious about the COVID policies. The stock market that affects all of us. So, the ticker symbol for Oklo is OKLO. OKLO. I am not here. This is not investing advice, but I can tell you, OKLO. We've been talking about the stock. It's at $56. I think we were talking about it when it was like maybe 18 or something. And so I just looked today and it went up another 20%. I have no idea. I got to go research. I'll follow up with you guys about that later. Maybe we'll talk about it tonight at the financial slumber party. So if you want to join the Stock Market Investors Club, you can do a free trial for the first month. Just go to drboycestockmarket.com. That's drboycestockmarket.com. Also, make sure you're on the text list for this class. You can get on that list by texting the word morning on your phone to the phone number 87948. So text morning to 87948 and I'll send you a link to join us tonight. Is it too late to get into Oklo, AJ? I don't know. I wish I could tell you. That's a big jump and it could be overpriced. We've talked about this. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you again, Miss Chelsea, and bless you in your wonderful work. And you are truly an angel. You're an angel among us, and you're also a Harriet Tubman. So power to the people.